All right, on our absolute value introduction homework, we need to have some middle school skills, which is mostly just evaluating what absolute value means. Let's remember that absolute value, what it measures is absolute value of something, measures how far away that something is from 0. So absolute value of -7 is 7 because -7 is 7 away from 0. Absolute value of 5 is 5 because 5 is 5 away from 0. Another way to think about it is just because it's how far away from 0, it will always come out as a positive number. And so absolute value turns negatives into positives and positives into positives. But we have to be a little bit careful. This one we are evaluating. Evaluating means finding the value of. And so here we have to evaluate 3 times the absolute value of 6 minus 9. This is just a middle school skill. There's no algebra involved. Absolute value acts as a parenthesis. You can't distribute inside of an absolute value. Instead, you need to evaluate what's inside first. 6 minus 9 is -3. Absolute value of -3 is 3. And so it's 3. Instead of 3 times absolute value of -3, we can rewrite 3 times 3. And 3 times 3 is 9. So 3 times the absolute value of 6 minus 9 is 9. I see sometimes kids will try to change it into 3 times 6 plus 9, thinking that absolute value changes each one positive, but that's not correct. It changes the answer positive. And so the answer is 9, not 45. This would be wrong. Okay. Let's see how it works with variables. Let's say we have g of x. Let's make a table here. It says make a table with a domain of -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. The domain are all the possible x values. So -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And g of x will be, the way we evaluate it is, here we're going to do g of -3, which means we put in -3 in for x. It'll be negative absolute value of x gets replaced by -3. Again, we don't just make things positive, we need to do the absolute value first. It's negative absolute value of -3 minus 2. If you're down by 3 and you go down 2 more, you're at -5. The absolute value of -5 is 5. And so we just get -5 as our answer. Notice you can't distribute inside of this. You can't say, hey, negative of -5 is going to be the absolute value of 5. You can't distribute inside almost any functions, and this is one of them. That would be wrong. So let's see, maybe I'll fill in one more thing in this table. When x is 3, we're doing negative absolute value of 3 minus 2. So again, when we're evaluating, I'm plugging in 3 here for x. 3 minus 2 is 1, so negative absolute value of 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. So -1 is our answer. We should be able to make our table. Okay. I think I'll do letter C for you, and I'll look at it 2 ways. If absolute value equals 7, what could x be? Well, this is saying the distance away from 7. And I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to do this one instead. I like this one better. So if 2 times the absolute value of x equals 20, what could x be? Well, what we're going to do first to solve this is we're going to get the absolute value by itself. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides because the 2 is outside of the absolute value. I'm not going to mess around with anything that's inside the absolute value. And then let's look at this. This says the absolute value of x equals 10. And we're trying to find the solutions here. What could x be? So x could be 10, because the absolute value of 10 would be 10, or x could be -10, because the absolute value of -10 would be 10. In either case, this will both be true. And we can plug back into the beginning and see 2 times the absolute value of 10 would be 2 times 10 is 20. And 2 times the absolute value of -10 would be 2 times 10, which is 20. These are our 2 solutions. Okay, hopefully that helps, and we feel good about our middle school skills coming